In my past life, he shot me dead with an arrow. Reborn on our wedding night, I publicly exposed his evidence of treason. Main text, I jolted upright. A tearing agony lingered in my chest. The icy arrowhead. The dull thud as it pierced flesh. The piercing whistle of that arrow cutting through the air still echoed in my ears. And his final words. You stood in my way. Xiao Heng. My husband. The arrow shot by his own hand. Cold sweat soaked through my single robe. I gasped for breath like a fish out of water. Before me lay the familiar bridal chamber. The crimson silk curtains remained unhung. Moonlight filtered through the lattice window, casting a cold, pale glow upon the floor. This was not the underworld. No ox-headed and horse-faced demons. Trembling, I reached out. By moonlight, I examined my hands. Smooth, without calluses. Not the hands that mended his armor in frontier sands, hands that would later clasp my own bleeding heart. Fingertips dug into my palms. Pain shot through me. Not a dream. I truly had returned. Back to before all the tragedy began. Back to before my utter foolishness, Shining, invited the wolf into the house and doomed all my loved ones. Ecstasy was instantly drowned by a tidal wave of hatred. My heart pounded wildly in my chest, threatening to shatter my ribs. Xiao Heng. That name burned like a red-hot branding iron, scorching my soul into a scream. The arrow that pierced my heart in my past life still seemed lodged there. Every breath tugged at that icy agony. Why? I asked him, blood choking my voice. You stood in my way. He sat high upon his horse, his gaze colder than the harshest northern wind at the frontier. Blocking his path? The Shin family, a lineage of loyal martyrs, paved his path to glory. And in the end, we became mere stepping stones for his ascent? To be kicked aside, crushed into dust? Hatred coiled like poisonous vines, tightening around my heart until I nearly choked. No. Now was not the time to be blinded by hatred. I bit down hard on my tongue. The sharp pain snapped me back to clarity. Time. Time was the most precious commodity now. In my past life, just 3 days later, my innocent 9-year-old younger brother, Arui, would accidentally slip and fall into the icy lotus pond behind the mansion. When they pulled him out, his tiny body was already stiff. Mother collapsed on the spot and never recovered, confined to her sickbed ever since. That was the first cup of poisoned wine Xiao Heng handed me. Using the lives of my dearest kin, he began the downfall of the Shin family. And now, only 2 days remain before that accident occurs. Cold sweat trickled down my temples. 2 days. I have only 2 days. I tossed aside the brocade quilt, my bare feet touching the icy floor tiles. The bone-chilling cold only sharpened my senses. Stepping to the dressing table, the bronze mirror reflected a young face, untouched by suffering. Between the brows lingered a trace of pampered, worldly ignorant bewilderment. Foolish! The owner of this face, in a past life, foolishly believed every sweet lie Xiao Heng uttered, personally pushing the entire Shin family into the abyss. The gaze in the mirror abruptly shifted. The bewilderment faded, leaving only icy, venomous hatred and a desperate, all-or-nothing resolve. I picked up a sharp hairpin. Shining, I said to my reflection, my voice low and raspy like sand scraping against stone, open your eyes and see clearly. This time, you will be the one wielding the blade. The pin's tip scraped across the tabletop, emitting a shrill squeak. A deep gash remained etched into the sandalwood. Like a vow carved into my heart. Xiao Heng, and all those demons lurking in the shadows. You owe the Shin family a debt of blood. This time, I'll make you pay with your lives, principal and interest. As dawn broke, I burst out the door. The cool morning air filled my lungs, yet it couldn't quell the burning anxiety in my heart. 2 days. Only 2 days. Miss, why are you up so early? You look terrible. My personal maid, Bitao, brought in a basin of water, startled by my pallid complexion. I had no time for explanations. Where is Arui? I grabbed her arm, my voice taut. Where is he? Bitao winced at my grip, startled. The young master? At this hour, he should be feeding his rabbits in the garden, I believe. Feeding rabbits? On that morning in my past life, he had also gone to feed his precious snow rabbit. I released Beethow and sprinted toward the rear garden. My skirt swept across dew-kissed stone steps, icy and slippery. My heart pounded as if it would burst. Please, nothing must have happened. I must reach him in time. Rounding the rockery, the familiar white marble railing encircling the lotus pond came into view. The water shimmered with a cold, blue-green glow in the morning light. By the railing, a small figure clad in a royal blue brocade jacket crouched. A vegetable leaf clutched in his hand, he leaned forward, straining to offer it to a white bundle nestled in the grass by the water's edge. It was Arui! And his snow rabbit. The heart that had been hanging in my throat dropped halfway. Thank goodness! Thank goodness he was still here. But the next second, my heart clenched again. Arui was crouched too close to the edge. Half his body was leaning over the railing. The railing wasn't very high, only reaching just below his chest. The accident from my past life had happened right here. Arui! I nearly screamed, sprinting toward him with every ounce of strength. The crouching child was startled by my shout and instinctively turned to look. Big sis? His round little face was filled with surprise. In that instant he turned his head, his center of gravity shifting slightly. The moss-covered stone slab beneath his feet, whether from dew or its inherent slipperiness, suddenly gave way. His small body instantly lost balance, tumbling backward like a leaf blown from a branch, panic-stricken. Beyond the railing lay the bottomless, icy pool. Ah! Ari's short cry was choked off in his throat. Fear seized me instantly. Everything before my eyes seemed to slow to a crawl. Ari's body tilting backward. His eyes wide with terror. That icy pool water. No! Absolutely not! The helplessness and heart-wrenching agony of watching him sink beneath the surface in my past life washed over me like a tsunami. Arui! I erupted with unprecedented speed, practically lunging forward. My foot stumbled, my knee slamming hard against the cold, hard stone slab, a piercing pain shooting through me. No time to think. At the critical moment when Arui's body was completely flipped over the railing, about to plunge into the water, my right hand finally clamped down on his raised arm. The sound of fabric tearing was shrill. The immense downward force nearly dragged me over the edge too. My left hand clawed desperately at the protruding base of the slippery railing, my fingernails splitting instantly as blood gushed forth. Big sis! Arui cried out in terror, his other small hand flailing wildly before clutching my wrist tightly. Cold. Trembling. Hold on tight. Don't let go. I screamed, my gums nearly bleeding from the force of my bite. His weight dragged my body downward relentlessly, half my shoulder already dangling over the railing as the icy scent of the pool water washed over me. My strength drained rapidly. My arm muscles throbbed with tearing pain. My left hand clutching the railing was slick with blood mixed with moss and dew, slippery and nearly impossible to hold onto. Despair rose like the icy pool water, inch by inch. Help! Someone, help! Save me! I screamed hoarsely toward the garden entrance, my voice already cracked. Footsteps echoed in disarray. Several maids sweeping early and guards who'd heard the commotion finally rushed over. Strong hands seized my nearly limp arms and grabbed Ari's clothes just in time. Pull! Hard! Chaotic pulling and gasps followed. Arui and I were hauled back to the safety of the ground inside the railing by a flurry of hands. I collapsed onto the cold, damp stone slabs, utterly drained, as if my bones had been pulled out. My heart pounded wildly in my chest, threatening to leap out. Big sis! Wah! Big sis! Arui threw himself into my arms like a frightened little animal, his small body trembling like a leaf in the wind. Icy tears instantly soaked the front of my shirt. It's okay. Arui, it's okay. I held him tight, gathering every ounce of strength, my voice shaking beyond control. The exhaustion of narrowly escaping death mingled with the wild joy of finding him again, making me tremble uncontrollably too. Tears poured out, mingling with cold sweat and the lingering terror of the ordeal, hot drops splashing onto Arui's hair. So close. Just that close. I almost lost him again. The aftershocks of terror still coursed through my limbs. Holding Irue, my gaze remained fixed on the spot where he had slipped, that slab near the railing edge, covered in dark green, slippery moss. This wasn't an accident. Not in my past life. And certainly not in this one. Wah. Big sis. Someone pushed me. Irue sobbed breathlessly in my arms, his little face deathly pale as he choked out the words in broken sobs. Pushed? My arms holding him stiffened abruptly. Blood seemed to rush to my head in an instant, only to freeze solid the next. So it was. Who? Irue, did you see who it was? I forced my voice steady, hiding the murderous intent within so as not to frighten him. Irue lifted his tear-streaked face, his wide eyes still filled with terror and confusion. He furrowed his tiny brow as he tried to recall. I didn't see clearly. I turned to look at you, and my feet slipped. It felt like someone behind me touched me, very lightly. And then I fell. A light touch. On such a slippery, dangerous edge. This was no accidental slip by a servant. It was premeditated murder. A chill shot from my feet to my scalp. Xiao hung. His hand moved faster than I'd imagined. More ruthless. Couldn't he even wait 2 days? Or had he sensed something? I forced myself to calm down. Now was not the time to be consumed by rage. Irue, don't be afraid. I wiped the tears from his face forcefully, my voice carrying a cold hardness unfamiliar even to myself. Big sister is here. From now on, I'll never leave Irue's side, okay? Irue nodded hard, tears still streaming, his small hand clutching my robe as if it were the only lifeline. Then, a series of hurried yet steady footsteps approached from afar. What's going on? A voice rang out, carrying both authority and suppressed fury. I looked up. Father Xinxing strode in, followed by Mother, her face etched with anxiety and worry. Father wore his deep indigo court robes, clearly summoned directly from the morning court session. His face was stern, his brows furrowed as his piercing gaze swept over the chaotic scene. It finally settled on me and Irue, particularly my blood-soaked left hand. Ning-er! Your hand! Mother gasped, rushing forward to inspect it. It's fine, just a superficial wound. I dodged her hand and gently pushed Irue into her arms. Mother, please take Irue back to his room first. Change him into dry clothes and brew some calming soup to ease his fright. Seeing Irue's pale little face and tear-swollen eyes, Mother's heart ached and tears welled up. She nodded repeatedly, clutching Irue tightly. All right. Mother will go now. Be a good boy, Rueer. Come with Mother. As Mother carried Irue away, he turned back to look at me every few steps, his large eyes filled with dependence and lingering terror. Only after their figures vanished behind the moon gate did I turn to Father. Father, my voice was unnaturally calm, yet as icy as steel. Someone tried to kill Irue. Father's pupils contracted sharply, his entire being erupting with the fierce aura of a battlefield. What? I pointed at the moss-covered stone slab, then raised my left hand, still oozing blood. Irue said before he slipped. He felt someone push him from behind. Lightly, but enough to be deadly. And, I paused, my gaze sweeping sharply over the guards and maids who had rescued him. This moss beneath the railing. It's growing in a rather suspicious spot. Father followed my finger, his face darkening to the point of dripping. A veteran of countless battles, he possessed a beast-like instinct for danger and traps. He crouched down, pinching a layer of thick, slippery, slimy moss between his fingertips. Humph. Father snorted coldly, rising to his feet. His gaze sliced through everyone present like a blade. The maids and guards trembled violently under that stare, collapsing to their knees with a thud. Investigate! Father's voice was not loud, yet it carried the weight of an ironclad military order. Every single person who approached the rear garden this morning, not one to be missed. Find out for this marquis. Who is responsible for cleaning this area? Why was this moss, slippery as it is, not reported or removed? Your lordship, spare my life. Spare me. An elderly servant woman responsible for sweeping the garden trembled like a sieve, banging her head on the ground like a garlic press. This old servant sweeps daily. This moss. It wasn't this thick or slippery yesterday. It seems. It seems someone deliberately splashed something. Deliberately splashed something? Causing the moss to grow wildly overnight, making it slippery? My heart sank. It all fit together, meticulously planned. This was no spur-of-the-moment act. It was premeditated. Xiao Heng. Your methods are truly vicious. Father clearly saw this too, his expression darkening further. His sharp gaze swept over everyone, finally settling on me with scrutiny and a hint of barely perceptible surprise. Ninger, your reaction today was remarkably swift. I lowered my eyelids, concealing the turmoil within my eyes. My voice carried the exhaustion and lingering fear of someone who had narrowly escaped disaster. Your daughter merely happened to be passing by. Seeing our Rui in danger, I couldn't think of anything else. Father remained silent for a moment, choosing not to press further. His voice was deep and solemn. This matter, your father will ensure you and Arui receive justice. From today onward, double the guards outside Arui's courtyard. And you. He glanced at me. Be extra cautious. Yes, father. I understand. I murmured in response. Watching his furious figure retreat, I slowly clenched my injured left hand. My nails dug deep into the flesh once more, blood staining the bandage red. The pain kept me lucid. Account? Father won't find anything on Xiao Heng. His work is always flawless. He'll just sacrifice a few scapegoats. This time, I can only rely on myself. Xiao Heng, your blade is drawn. Very well. My blade must now leave its sheath. Arui was so frightened that he ran a high fever that very night. Mother stayed by his bedside without rest, her eyes red from exhaustion. I stood watch in the courtyard, listening to Arui's restless murmurs and Mother's soft, soothing whispers. My heart felt like it was being fried in boiling oil. In my past life, after Arui fell into the water, he also ran a fever that wouldn't break. In the end, he didn't make it. That tiny coffin. Mother's hair turning white overnight. No. This must not happen again. I forced myself to calm down. Having failed with his first strike and exposed his intentions, Xiao Heng would likely refrain from targeting Arui again in the short term. His ambitions had never been confined to Arui alone. He coveted the entire Shen family, and my value remained intact. Sure enough, the next afternoon, Xiao Heng arrived at our doorstep. Ostensibly, he came to check on his frightened younger brother. Seated in the flower hall, I watched through the beaded curtain as the steward ushered him in. Dressed in a moon-white brocade robe, his hair bound by a jade crown, he stood tall and straight as a bamboo shoot. His features were handsome and gentle, a perfectly measured, concerned smile playing at the corners of his lips. Anyone who saw him would praise him as a dashing gentleman of the world, a devoted and loving husband. In my past life, it was this very jade-like, gentle exterior that bewitched me, leaving me utterly spellbound and willing to surrender everything. But now, I see only the venom and scheming flowing beneath that facade. Ninger, he approached me, his voice dripping with honeyed concern. I heard of yesterday's peril at the manor. Was Arui frightened? Is he all right? And you? You suffered too. His gaze fell on my bandaged hand, filled with feigned pity. My stomach churned violently. What a masterful performance. I lowered my eyes, hiding the icy cold in my gaze. When I looked up again, my face bore just the right amount of exhaustion, lingering fear, and a hint of dependence. My voice was slightly hoarse. It's fine. Arui is okay. Just a bit shaken, and his fever hasn't broken yet. I was truly terrified. I let a hint of vulnerability show at just the right moment, my body swaying almost imperceptibly. Xiao Heng immediately reached out, pretending to offer a caring hand to steady my arm. Ninger, be careful. You look terrible. You must have been frightened and anxious yesterday and didn't rest well. Just as his fingertips were about to touch me, I turned slightly as if reaching for the teacup on the table, avoiding his contact. Thank you for your concern, Brother Heng. I lifted the slightly cool tea, sipped it, and suppressed the nausea rising in my throat. Xiao Heng's hand paused midair before naturally withdrawing, the concern on his face undiminished. Between us, there's no need for thanks. Seeing you and Arui safe is enough to ease my mind. But... His tone shifted, tinged with gravity and measured self-reproach. That such negligence occurred in the household, allowing villains to exploit it, it's truly despicable. Has the Marquis uncovered any leads? Here it comes. The probe. I set down my teacup, furrowing my brow slightly as I shook my head. My voice carried resignation and a hint of anger. Father is furious and conducting a thorough investigation. They only caught an old maid responsible for sweeping. She claimed she was lazy and failed to clean the slippery moss in time. But I don't think it's that simple. I lifted my eyes, my gaze seeking his trust and support. Brother Hung, who do you think it could be? Who would want to harm my Arui? Xiao Hang's eyes flickered, almost imperceptibly fast. He sighed, reaching out to pat my hand in consolation, but I just happened to lift my hand again to smooth my hair. Ninger, fear not, and do not dwell on it. His tone was steady, carrying a soothing power. The Marquis is meticulous, he will surely uncover the mastermind behind this. As for Arui, an innocent child, perhaps that group of cunning servants was negligent, leading to this disaster. It may not have been deliberate malice. Rest assured, I will handle everything. I'll handle everything. In my past life, it was precisely these words that lured me time and again into the tender trap he wove, ultimately leading me to ruin. Hearing them now felt nothing short of bitter irony. I promptly wore a look of reassurance and dependence. With Brother Hing here, I feel much more at ease. Just then, Bitao entered carrying an exquisite food box. Miss, Master, Bitao curtsied, the pastries Master brought from Jiangnan. The kitchen just chilled them with ice, they're said to be wonderfully refreshing and cut through richness. The box opened to reveal delicate, translucent pink pastries shaped like petals, wafting a sweet fragrance. It was my favorite, lotus root starch osmanthus cakes. In my past life, it was precisely this kind of thoughtful tenderness that gradually dismantled my defenses. Brother Hung, you're so considerate. I smiled with delight. Xiao Hung personally picked up a piece, offering it to my lips with elegant grace. His gaze was so tender it could drown a person. Try some, Ninger? I sought out this recipe especially for you. It's refreshingly sweet without cloying, perfect for calming the spirit. The pink pastry, held between his slender fingers, resembled poison coated in sugar frosting. In my past life, he had done exactly this, personally fed me poison wine. My heart felt pierced once more by that icy arrow. Agonizing pain spread through me. I gazed into his smiling eyes. Deep within them lay cold calculation and a barely perceptible scrutiny. He was testing me. Testing whether I harbored suspicion. Testing if I was still that foolish Shining who obeyed his every word. My smile remained unchanged, even tinged with a hint of bashfulness. Tilting my head slightly, I took his hand and gently bit off a small piece. The sweet, refreshing flavor melted on my tongue. It really is delicious. Brother Hung, you've gone to such trouble. I swallowed, my smile sweet. The last trace of doubt in Xiao Hang's eyes seemed to vanish, his smile deepening. I'm glad you like it. Once you're married to me, I'll have someone make it for you every day. Sounds good. I agreed with a smile, picking up a pastry but not eating it. Instead, I casually began teasing the big yellow dog, Wang Kai, who was curled up dozing in the corner of the flower hall. Wang Tsai, come here. I've got something tasty. I waved the pastry in my hand. The big yellow dog caught the scent, immediately wagging its tail as it approached, rubbing against my leg in a flattering manner. Ninger, this. Xiao Hung frowned slightly, seeming to find it inappropriate. It's fine, just a little snack. I smiled, tossing the piece of lotus root starch osmanthus cake, which I had already taken a bite from, to Wang Kai. Wang Kai happily caught it in his mouth, swallowing it in a few gulps before licking his lips, still wanting more. Xiao Hung watched silently, saying nothing more. He lifted his teacup, gently blowing away the foam, his lowered eyelashes concealing the fleeting, deep gleam in his eyes. Holding the affectionate Wang Kai close, I idly ran my fingers through its sleek fur. My face wore a contented smile, yet my heart felt as cold as a block of iron. Xiao Hung, have you ever tasted the flavor of poison yourself? The night was as deep as indelible ink. The once bustling Marquis mansion had fallen completely silent. Only the distant, monotonous clang of the night watchman's gong faintly echoed. Sleep eluded me. The composure and smiles I'd forced during the day had long faded, leaving only icy clarity. Wang Kai. Since evening, something had been off. It no longer wagged its tail lively for scraps, just curled listlessly in its bed. At first, I thought it had eaten too much. Until just now, when Bitao rushed in, panic-stricken. Miss, it's terrible. Wang Kai. Bitao's face was deathly pale, her voice trembling. My heart sank. I threw on a robe, jumped out of bed, and hurried toward the dog kennel in the backyard. Under the dim lantern light, Wang Kai lay on the straw, his limbs twitching slightly. Dark red, viscous blood foam oozed from his nostrils and mouth, staining a patch of straw crimson. His eyes were half open, pupils dilated, emitting faint, agonized whimpers. Bleeding from all 7 orifices. I crouched down, my fingers icy cold. That pink, sweet pastry from earlier today. So it was true. Xiao Heng. How heartless you are. You wouldn't even spare a guard dog? Or is this just another warning and test for me? Rage burned like poisonous fire, scorching my very insides. But stronger than the fury was a cold, murderous intent. Miss. What? What happened? Wang Kai was fine this morning. Bitao's eyes were brimming with tears. I drew a deep breath, forcing down the churning emotions. Go, my voice was as cold as ice shards, and discreetly summoned Dr. Zhang. Don't alert anyone. Just say I was startled today and am experiencing palpitations. Bitao hesitated, meeting my icy glare. Daring not to ask further, she immediately obeyed. I stayed by Wang Sai's side, watching its breath grow faint until it finally ceased entirely. Those eyes, once brimming with loyalty and spirit, were now veiled by the ashen haze of death. I reached out and gently closed its eyes. If even beasts suffer thus, how much more so humans? Xiao Heng, between you and me, only one side's utter annihilation will bring this to an end. Dr. Zhang, a veteran of the estate, possessed exceptional medical skill and, more importantly, strict discretion. He was quickly led by Bitao, hurrying over with his medicine chest in hand. Seeing Wang Sai's corpse on the ground, especially the black blood around its mouth and nose, Dr. Zhang's expression changed. He immediately crouched down to examine it closely. He pried open Wang Sai's mouth to look inside, then dabbed some blood beneath its nose and sniffed it. His expression grew even more grave. Young miss, Dr. Zhang lowered his voice, his tone laced with disbelief and horror, this dog has been poisoned with a deadly toxin. Judging by the symptoms, it appears to be Crane's red crown mixed with heartbreaking grass. An utterly ruthless combination, fatal upon contact with blood. Crane's red crown. Heartbreaking grass. 2 deadly poisons combined, just to poison a dog? Or rather, to ensure without fail that whoever ate that pastry would die. Well done, Xiao Heng. Truly thoughtful to the extreme. This matter, I looked at Dr. Zhang, my gaze sharp as a blade, buried deep within your gut. Not a single word to anyone, including the Marquis and his wife. Understood? Dr. Zhang was frozen by the icy glint in my eyes, shivering as he nodded repeatedly. This old man understands. Understands. After sending Dr. Zhang away, I stood alone in the cold courtyard. The night wind blew, lifting the hem of my thin nightgown. Wang Sai's tiny corpse lay at my feet, a silent accusation. My heart felt icy cold, yet my thoughts were unusually clear. Xiao Heng's dowry, the first was Arui's life, the second this sugar-coated poison. Then surely the third grand gift would arrive soon? In my past life, just days before the wedding, an accidentally intercepted treasonous letter bearing my father's private seal was presented before the emperor. Though Xiao Heng later proved it was forged, my father was still rebuked for failing to govern his household and command his subordinates properly, stripped of his command over the capital's garrison. That letter was the first heavy beam to crush the Shin family. In this life, will that letter still arrive as scheduled? Or has it already arrived? Only temporarily suppressed by Xiao Heng's men, held as leverage to control the Shin family, to control me? I spun around abruptly and strode back into the room. "Bi Tao." "Miss?" Bi Tao entered, her eyes red and swollen. "Go," my voice was hushed, carrying an unquestionable command, "and invite Liu, the steward in charge of the front gate and correspondence, to come to me. Tell him." I was startled today and had nightmares. I wished to inquire about some minor matters concerning the estate's correspondence. "Remember, do it quietly." Though puzzled, Bi Tao saw the gravity in my expression and nodded immediately. "Yes, miss." I sat before the dressing table. The bronze mirror reflected a pale yet unnaturally composed face. My eyes were deep, like two bottomless cold pools. "Xiao Heng, you want to play with fire? I'll see it through to the end. Only this time, I'll make sure this fire burns you to ashes." Steward Liu was soon invited by Bi Tao. A gray-haired servant in his 50s, his back slightly hunched, he had managed the mailroom for over 2 decades, always cautious and dutiful. Summoned to the young mistress's chambers in the dead of night, he stood trembling in the outer room, hands clasped, head bowed, not daring to lift his gaze. "Uncle Liu, there's no need to be nervous," I had Bi Tao fetch him a small stool, my tone softening slightly. "I summoned you at this hour to ask about something. After the shock of the day, I've been suspicious and paranoid, fearing some unexplained correspondence might have crossed paths with something untoward." Upon hearing this, Steward Liu visibly relaxed, though he remained deferential. "Whatever the young mistress asks, this old servant shall answer truthfully. In recent days, particularly around father's study, I fixed him with my gaze, enunciating each word carefully. Has there been any unusual correspondence? Delivered from outside, or perhaps sent out by someone within the household?" I emphasized the word particularly. Steward Liu frowned, straining to recall. "In response to your question, miss, the Marquis's correspondence is always handled personally by his attendant Zhang Quan. It never passes through my hands. Correspondence sent from the estate is either dispatched personally by the masters of each household or handled by Zhang Quan and his team. The gatehouse only manages ordinary calling cards and less important communications." He was telling the truth. Father held high rank and great power. Confidential correspondence certainly wouldn't pass through the ordinary gatehouse. My heart sank. Had I misjudged? Noticing my silence, Steward Liu seemed to recall something else and hesitantly added, "However, come to think of it, the afternoon before last, there was a rather peculiar letter. It was addressed to the personal attendant of the son-in-law, Li Mao." Li Mao? Xiao Heng's trusted personal attendant. My spirits lifted. Oh? How was it peculiar? The letter had no sender's name or signature on the envelope, Steward Liu recalled, only the words for Li Mao's personal attention. A young beggar boy I'd never seen before delivered it, dropped the letter, and ran off. I thought it was meant for someone working for the young master, and given how it arrived, I shouldn't have accepted it. But Li Mao happened to come to the gatehouse to pick something up, so I just took it. No name or signature on the envelope. Delivered by a beggar boy. Li Mao just happened to be there to take it. This couldn't be a coincidence. Uncle Liu, do you recall any distinguishing features of that letter? I pressed, my heart in my throat. Steward Liu strained to recall distinctive features. The envelope was plain yellow jute paper. The handwriting, quite neat, not like something a beggar boy could write. Oh, right. The seal wasn't paste, it was a small piece of deep red sealing wax. The shape, odd, not like a regular round stamp. More like half a tiger's head? Deep red sealing wax. Half a tiger's head. Boom! It felt like thunderclaps exploding in my mind. That treasonous secret letter presented to the Emperor in my past life, the forged envelope seal used precisely this special half-tiger sealing wax, signifying some covert military order. That letter had indeed reached the mansion. It was in Xiao Heng's hands. He had pressed it to be used as leverage against the Shen family, forcing me to submit. Or perhaps waiting for the perfect moment to strike, delivering a fatal blow to the Shen house. Cold sweat instantly drenched my back. Rage and icy murderous intent churned within me. Well done, Xiao Heng. What a fatal betrothal gift. I forced down the churning blood in my veins, striving to keep my voice steady. Understood. Uncle Lou, regarding what I asked you tonight and that letter, consider it never happened. Never mention it to anyone. Is that clear? Though Lou the steward didn't grasp the full implications, seeing my expression, unusually grave, he nodded vigorously. This old servant understands. I'd rather die than speak of it. After sending Lou away, I sat alone in the darkness, fingers unconsciously twisting the hem of my robe, nails digging into my palms once more. That letter was a sword hanging over the Shin family's head. I must get my hands on it. Destroy it. But the letter was in Li Mao's possession. Li Mao was Xiao Heng's most loyal dog, skilled in martial arts and highly alert. Steal it by force? Impossible. Steal it? Too risky. If we alerted the snake, the consequences would be unimaginable. What to do? If force won't work, then I'll have to use persuasion. He must be made to hand it over willingly. Or rather, made to believe handing it over was in his best interest. A plan so audacious it bordered on madness took shape in my icy mind. It carried the desperation of a last stand. Xiao Heng, weren't you planning to marry me? Fine. I'll marry you. I'll marry you in grand style. Then, on your own turf, I'll personally uproot this den of iniquity. The first step was to steady Xiao Heng, lulling him into complete complacency. I began cooperating with his performance. I accepted every pastry he sent, always taking a small, delighted bite in front of him, praising it lavishly. The rest was either rewarded to some maid who'd made a minor mistake or fed to stray cats and dogs that appeared out of nowhere. His tender attentions, I accepted wholeheartedly, responding with perfectly measured shyness and dependence. Occasionally, I let slip fear about that day's accident and resentment toward the mastermind behind it, tying all my trust and dependence solely to him. Brother Heng, do you think father can find the real culprit? I keep dreaming at night that someone pushes Erue. I leaned against the small window outside his study, my brows slightly furrowed, radiating a heartbreaking vulnerability. Xiao Heng set down the book he was holding and walked over to me, instinctively reaching to wrap his arm around my shoulder. I shifted slightly to the side, pretending to inhale the fragrance of a pot of jasmine in full bloom by the window. Ning'er, do not fear. He withdrew his hand, his voice steady and powerful, carrying a soothing magic. With me here, no one shall harm you again. As for the Marquis, results should come soon. If they truly cannot uncover the truth, once you enter our family, I shall petition His Majesty to transfer this case to the Supreme Court for thorough investigation. Justice for Erue must be served. His words were decisive and heartfelt. Yet deep within his eyes lay a cold, calculating gaze. I promptly offered him a look of deep admiration and gratitude. Brother Heng, you're so kind. With you here, I'm not afraid of anything. The more docile the prey, the easier it is for the hunter to lower their guard. Xiao Heng's gaze toward me grew increasingly gentle and reassured with each passing day. He likely believed Xin Ning remained the same fool he held firmly in the palm of his hand. The timing was gradually ripening. One day, I accidentally overheard news from my mother. Alas, your sister Wanqing's marriage may face complications. Mother told me with a worried frown. The arrangements with Minister Chen's household were settled, but the day before yesterday, the old matriarch went to burn incense. On the way back, her horse bolted, and she fell, breaking her leg. They say it needs to be countered with a joyous event. This match will likely be delayed. Wanqing? My half-sister. In my past life, she later became Xiao Heng's concubine, a thorn lodged deep in my heart. A thought struck me. Setbacks? Offsetting bad luck? It was like a pillow delivered just when I needed it. A perfect opportunity, one that would let me retrieve the letter and lure Xiao Heng into a deadly trap, had presented itself. A perfectly measured look of surprise and concern spread across my face. Ah. Then wouldn't Sister Wanqing? What does the Qin family say? Is there any room for negotiation? Mother sighed. The Chens insist on the auspicious marriage, demanding the wedding be moved up to next month. But next month? Isn't that when you're to be married? This would mean sisters marrying in the same month, with the elder sister following the younger, utterly improper. Word of this would tarnish Wanqing's reputation. This. I frowned, seemingly troubled too. After a moment's thought, my eyes suddenly lit up as if struck by a brilliant idea. Mother, what if Wanqing took my place? What? Mother was stunned. I clasped Mother's hand, my tone sincere and earnest. You see, since Wanqing's marriage cannot wait, and as for me, Brother Hung is so devoted and loyal, he surely won't mind a few days' delay. Why not let Wanqing take my wedding date with Brother Hung? Let her marry into the Qin family in splendor to ward off misfortune? As for me, 2 blushes spread across my cheeks, tinged with maidenly bashfulness. I can marry later. Brother Hung cherishes me so deeply, he'll surely understand. Mother was stunned speechless by my self-sacrificing for my sister proposal. Naturally, the news reached Xiao Heng's ears. Sure enough, that very evening, Xiao Heng arrived in a frenzy of urgency. The usual gentle composure on his face had been replaced by a rare look of agitation. Ning I heard. You're actually giving up your wedding date for Wanqing? The moment he entered, he didn't even bother with formalities, grabbing my wrist with a force that was a bit too strong. I grimaced in pain, yet a cold smile played in my heart. Frantic? Afraid the duck you've cooked will fly away? Worried I'll delay the wedding and disrupt your plan to swallow the Shin family? I lifted my eyes, quickly clouding them with a mist of tears, my expression a mix of hurt and defiance. Brother Hung, you're hurting me. Wanqing's wedding is imminent. The Qin family needs to hold a wedding to ward off bad luck. As her elder sister, I can't just stand by and let her reputation suffer, can I? Besides, you love me so much. Waiting a little longer to marry me. It's no big deal. No. Xiao Heng blurted out, his tone unyielding. Realizing his outburst, he immediately softened his voice, though the urgency in his eyes remained unmasked. Ninger, the wedding date is set by our parents and arranged by matchmakers. How can we simply change it? Besides, I can't wait a single moment longer to marry you. He gazed at me with deep affection, attempting to soften my resolve with tenderness. We'll find another way to resolve Sister Wanqing's situation. She won't be wronged. But our wedding date absolutely cannot be changed. The fish had taken the bait. A cold smile played in my heart, yet my expression remained one of hesitation and struggle. But, Mother, the formalities. Etiquette is made by people. Xiao Heng cut me off, his tone carrying an unquestionable strength. Ninger, you need only focus on preparing for our wedding. Sister Wanqing's matter, leave it to me. I will negotiate with the Qin family and find a solution that satisfies everyone. I will never put you in a difficult position. He assured me with such urgency, as if Wanqing's situation were merely a trivial nuisance. Seeing the determined eagerness in his eyes, I knew the moment had come. Then, very well. I nodded reluctantly, then promptly made a request. But, Brother Hung, I've been feeling restless these past few days. Especially when I think about what happened to Irue that day, and all the unexplained turmoil in the mansion. I timed it perfectly to show fear, my body trembling slightly. Xiao Heng immediately pulled me into his embrace. This time I didn't pull away, patting my back gently. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. It's all over now. I was wondering. Leaning against his chest, my voice carried a barely perceptible tremor and dependence. I was wondering if it would be possible to have Li Mao come over to help me for a while? Li Mao? Xiao Heng's body stiffened almost imperceptibly. Yes, I lifted my head, my eyes holding just the right measure of trust and pleading. He's your man. He handles things most steadily and reliably. With him watching over my courtyard, I'd feel more at ease. Otherwise, I always feel like someone wants to harm me. I deliberately made my words incoherent, like a frightened little girl seeking shelter. Xiao Heng lowered his gaze to study me, his scrutinizing eyes roaming my face. He was weighing his options. Allowing Li Mao to come meant exposing a crucial pawn he'd placed within the Shin household right under my nose. But the upside was tighter protection, surveillance, of me, ensuring the wedding proceeded smoothly without complications. Moreover, a frightened, dependent Shining making such a reasonable request seemed perfectly plausible. Ultimately, his desire for control and a smooth wedding overrode that sliver of doubt. A reassuring smile touched his lips, yet his gaze remained unfathomable. Very well. Since Ninger needs it, I'll have Li Mao come tomorrow. With him present, you shall be well protected. Thank you, Brother Hung. I let out a relieved smile, nestling back into his embrace and burying my face against his chest. From his unseen angle, the smile instantly faded from my face, leaving only cold calculation. Li Mao, you loyal hound. Come. The show has only just begun. Li Mao arrived. He was around 30, lean and muscular, with an ordinary face, the kind you'd never pick out in a crowd. But those eyes, when they studied someone, they held a sinister scrutiny, like a venomous snake lurking in the shadows. Your humble servant, Li Mao, has come at the young master's command to await Miss Shin's instructions. He stood with hands clasped in my courtyard, posture respectful, voice flat and emotionless. Stewardly, no need for formalities. Seated under the eaves, a scroll in my hands, I didn't even lift my eyelids. Since Brother Hung sent you, he trusts you. Lately, this courtyard feels unsettled. I'll trouble stewardly to take extra care and watch over it properly for me. I deliberately emphasized the word watch. Li Mao bowed his head even lower. I understand, madam. I shall spare no effort to protect you. MHM. I responded indifferently, waving him off. You may go. I shall summon you if needed. Li Mao retreated silently, like a shadow merging into the darkness. Bitao stood nearby, watching the direction Li Mao vanished. She couldn't help but whisper, Miss, that man seems unsettling. Why would the groom send someone like that? I set down my scroll, picked up the teacup beside me, and gently blew away the foam. A cold curve touched my lips. Unsettling? Perfect. He's ideal for guarding the house and grounds. A venomous snake belongs where it's most needed. In the days that followed, I acted like a bride-to-be utterly dependent on Xiao Hung, content to await her wedding day. Regarding Li Mao's presence, I displayed great satisfaction and trust. I often accidentally revealed my lingering fear and unease about the strange occurrences in the manor when he was nearby. Mr. Li, do you think the person who pushed our Rui that day might still be hiding in the manor? I asked casually while trimming flower branches. Li Mao stood at attention nearby, his voice utterly unruffled. Rest assured, miss. The Marquis has reinforced security. The manor is perfectly safe. Sigh, I hope so. I let out a breath, setting down the shears, a hint of weariness on my face. I don't know why, but these past few days I've felt restless, unable to sleep soundly at night. I keep dreaming of unpleasant things. Li Mao lifted his eyelids, giving me a quick glance. Your ladyship worries too much. With the wedding approaching, you should ease your mind. That may be true. I rubbed my temples. Perhaps the pre-wedding details are overwhelming me. Oh, Li Manager, I seem to recall something suddenly. I remember you handle correspondence for Brother Hung? I have a letter for my uncle here. I wish to send it to the north tomorrow. Could you check if the postal route is still open? I hear the north has been unsettled lately. I produced a letter I had prepared and sealed long ago, its contents unimportant. Li Mao's gaze lingered on the envelope for a moment before he respectfully replied, yes. I shall inquire thoroughly for you, miss. Though the northern postal route occasionally faces delays, sending a family letter should pose no issue. That's good. I handed him the letter. Thank you for your trouble. Li Mao took the letter and withdrew. This was merely a test. To accustom him to handling my letters. To lower his guard against my correspondence. The real bait required patience. The wedding day, meticulously arranged by Xiao Hung, finally arrived. The Northern Marquisate gave away a bride, the Martial Peace Marquisate welcomed a bride. The spectacle was grand enough to shake the entire capital. 10 miles of crimson bridal procession, drums and music resounding through the heavens. Crowds of onlookers filled the city streets. Dressed in an elaborate, heavy phoenix crown and ceremonial robes, I resembled an exquisite puppet. Supported by the wedding maid, I paid my respects to my parents and, amid deafening firecrackers and the clamor of drums and music, ascended into the flower-adorned palanquin bound for the Marquis of Wuan's residence. The sedan curtain fell, sealing out the clamor of the outside world. I sat upright within the sedan, my back straight. Heavy makeup concealed all expression, save for the icy flame burning deep within my eyes. Xiaoheng, we have arrived at your residence. My battlefield, too, is at hand. The wedding rituals were intricate and drawn out. Bowing to heaven and earth, bowing to parents, the couple bowing to each other. With every bow and every lowered head, I felt the invisible arrow piercing my heart churn within. The banquet hall was filled with guests, their congratulations ringing out in a cacophony of noise. Through my red veil, I could sense Xiaoheng standing beside me, radiating an air of smug satisfaction. Finally, amid a wave of cheers, I was escorted into the bridal chamber. Bright red candles blazed fiercely, casting a blinding crimson glow. The matchmaker and maids uttered auspicious blessings before withdrawing, leaving only Bitao and another attendant maid guarding the door. I was alone in the room. I tore off the cumbersome red veil and tossed it onto the wedding bed strewn with red dates and peanuts. The phoenix crown was too heavy, pressing painfully against my neck, but I couldn't be bothered with it. Time was of the essence. According to the plan, the banquet in the front courtyard was in full swing now. As the groom, Xiaoheng would surely be overwhelmed by the revelry. This was the perfect moment. I swiftly shed the elaborate, heavy wedding robe and outer gown, revealing the dark, form-fitting attire I'd already slipped on underneath, perfect for movement. I carefully removed the phoenix crown and hid it beneath the bed. I walked to the window and gently pushed it open a crack. Night had deepened. The rear courtyard of the Marquis of Wuan's residence lay in silence. Only the distant clamor from the front courtyard faintly drifted over. I listened intently for a moment, confirming no one was approaching the bridal chamber area. Turning, I reached into the bottom layer of my bridal trousseau and retrieved a small, exquisitely crafted yet exceptionally sharp dagger, tucking it into my boot. I also took out a small packet of specially prepared sleeping powder and a fire starter. Then, silently pushing open the rear window, I leapt out like an agile cat, blending into the deep night. I had visited Xiaoheng's study several times in my past life. I could find it with my eyes closed. It was situated in a secluded courtyard at the junction between the front courtyard and the inner quarters of the Marquis's residence. The surroundings were quiet, and the guards were relatively lax, at least on the master's wedding night. Dodging several patrols of guards, I crept to the outer wall of the study courtyard. The gate was tightly shut, and darkness reigned within. Circling around to a spot along the side wall where plants grew thickly, I located the loose brick I remembered from memory and gave it a firm shove. A dog hole, barely large enough for one person to squeeze through, revealed itself. In my past life, I had once witnessed one of Xiaoheng's trusted advisors sneaking in and out of this very spot late at night. At the time, I had found it odd but hadn't probed further. Now, I realized this must be the secret passage Xiaoheng had reserved for himself. Without hesitation, I crouched low and squeezed through. The study was pitch black, permeated by the faint scent of ink and a distinctively cool, subdued fragrance, the scent of agarwood that belonged to Xiaoheng. I lit a small candle I'd brought with me. Its tiny flame barely illuminated the immediate surroundings. The study was spacious and elegantly furnished. A writing desk, bookshelves, a curio cabinet. Many objects filled the room. Where could that letter be hidden? Time ticked by. My heart pounded wildly, my palms drenched in cold sweat. Don't rush. Stay calm. Xiaoheng was inherently suspicious and cunning. He would never leave important things out in the open. A hidden compartment? A secret room? My gaze swept over the massive rosewood desk. Stacks of documents and books covered its surface. I searched carefully, trying not to disturb anything. Nothing. Antique treasures adorned the display cabinet. I gently moved each piece, testing for hidden mechanisms. Nothing either. The bookshelves. Rows of books stacked neatly. I scanned the spines swiftly yet meticulously. Time ticked by. The clamor from the front courtyard seemed to have quieted slightly. Xiaoheng could return at any moment. Cold sweat trickled down my temple. Had I miscalculated? Was the letter not here? Just as my anxiety peaked, my gaze inadvertently swept over a massive scroll hanging on the wall behind the desk, the Northern Frontier Landscape. It was the work of a renowned master from the previous dynasty, a piece Xiaoheng cherished deeply. In my past life, he seemed to often stand before this painting, gazing at it for long periods. As if compelled by some unseen force, I walked to the painting. In the candlelight, the silk scroll glowed softly. I reached out, my fingertips tracing the edge of the scroll. Suddenly, my fingertip touched an extremely subtle, almost imperceptible bulge on the left side of the scroll, near the wall. My heart pounded wildly. Holding my breath, I pressed down firmly. Click! A faint, mechanical sound. A brick panel about a foot square slid silently inward from the wall beneath the painting, revealing a shallow hidden compartment. Inside the compartment lay no gold or jewels. Only a single jute paper envelope rested quietly. Its seal bore a vivid crimson wax impression, that distinctive, ferocious half-tiger head. Found it! Ecstasy surged through me. My trembling hand snatched the letter from the slot. It felt slightly heavy in my grasp. Without pausing to examine it, I quickly tucked the letter deep into my robe. Then, with lightning speed, I closed the compartment, pressing the protruding mechanism back into place. After completing these actions, I blew out the candle, ready to retreat the way I came. Squeak! The outer study door creaked open. A tall, lanky figure staggered inside, reeking heavily of alcohol. It was Xiaoheng. How could he be back so soon? Icy fear seized me instantly. My blood seemed to freeze in that moment. How could he be back? The banquet in the front courtyard should still be in full swing. His stumbling footsteps drew nearer. The pungent scent of alcohol mingled with the heavy fragrance of agarwood emanating from his body, suffocating the air. Too late. Escaping through the dog hole would surely alert him. I felt nailed to the spot, my body rigid. My mind went blank, only my heart pounding wildly in my chest, deafeningly loud. What to do? The footsteps crossed the outer room, about to enter the inner study. In that critical moment, my gaze swept over the massive bookshelf lining the inner wall. Between the bookshelf and the wall lay a narrow gap. No time to think. The instinct to survive overwhelmed everything. With every ounce of strength, I slid silently like a shadow, pressing my body flush against the cold wall and squeezing myself into that narrow gap. Almost simultaneously, Xiaoheng's figure appeared at the study door. He had clearly drunk heavily, his steps unsteady as he braced one hand against the doorframe and rubbed his temples with the other. His handsome face bore a flushed glow from the alcohol, his eyes slightly unfocused. He staggered inside, not immediately lighting the lamp, but heading straight for the desk. Darkness became my best cover. I held my breath, pressed flat against the wall, wishing I could become part of it. I could hear the distinct sound of my own blood rushing through my veins. He stopped before the scroll, landscape of the northern frontier. My heart skipped a beat. Did he notice? Did he see the hidden compartment had been tampered with? In the darkness, I couldn't make out his expression, only his tall silhouette standing motionless before the painting. The air seemed to freeze, thick with suffocating pressure. Time stretched out as if a century had passed. Finally, he moved. Not to inspect the hidden compartment, but to reach out. With a force bordering on obsession and greed, he slowly stroked the cold canvas. As if caressing the warm skin of a lover. Soon. Very soon. His hoarse voice echoed through the silent study, heavy with the stench of alcohol and a bone-chilling fervor. The Shin family's military authority. The tiger seal of the northern frontier. They're all mine. No one can stop me. The tiger seal? He was plotting to seize the northern frontier's tiger seal held by his uncle? My heart pounded violently. So this was his ultimate goal. Destroying the Shin family, framing my father, all to pave his path to controlling the northern frontier's military power. No wonder in my past life, my uncle accidentally died in battle shortly after my death. The northern frontier's defenses collapsed in an instant. A tidal wave of hatred instantly washed away my fear. I bit down hard on my lower lip, tasting the rusty metallic tang of blood, barely suppressing the urge to charge out and die with him. Xiao Heng stood before the painting for a long time, murmuring low and indistinctly, like a drunken beast dreaming sweetly. Finally, seemingly unable to sustain his drunkenness, he swayed and turned. Instead of heading toward the soft couch in the study, he staggered toward the outer door. Footsteps receded as the outer door closed once more. My tense body instantly went limp. I slid down the cold wall to the floor, gasping for breath, my undergarments already soaked through with cold sweat. The letter in my arms felt like a red-hot branding iron, searing my heart into spasms. I couldn't stay long. Struggling to my feet, I crawled on all fours through the dog hole into the study courtyard. Dodging patrols without incident, I slipped back to the bridal chamber. Bitao and the bridal maids waited outside, unaware of my absence. Swiftly shedding my travel clothes, putting on the elaborate wedding gown once more, fastening the heavy phoenix crown, and smoothing my disheveled hair. Just as I repositioned the red veil and sat back on the bed, footsteps echoed from the outer chamber, followed by the hurried bows of the maids. "Your lordship." The door swung open. The heavy stench of alcohol hit me again. Xiao Heng entered. His wedding robes were slightly disheveled, his gaze clearer than when he'd been in the study, though still tinged with drunkenness. He waved away the maids who rushed forward to attend to him. "All of you, leave." His voice carried an unquestionable command. Bitao shot me a worried glance before reluctantly retreating and closing the door. Only he and I remained in the room. Red candles flickered, casting a blinding crimson glow throughout the chamber. The air thickened with suffocating silence and the stench of alcohol. He approached the bed step by step. I could feel his gaze, laced with scrutiny and some suppressed emotion, piercing through the red veil and landing on me. "Ninger," he spoke, his voice devoid of emotion, tinged with a hint of drunken hoarseness. "Where did you go earlier?" My heart sank violently. He knew? He had discovered? No. Impossible. He was so drunk at the time. I forced myself to calm down, my hands clenched tightly inside the wide sleeves of my robe, my nails digging into my palms once more. Yet my voice carried just the right amount of drowsiness and confusion. "What are you saying, my lord?" "I have been waiting here for you all along." "Is that so?" He chuckled softly, his tone devoid of emotion. Suddenly, he reached out. His fingers, carrying the scent of wine and a faint chill, abruptly lifted my crimson veil. The glaring candlelight made me instinctively squint. Xiao Heng's face was mere inches away. He looked down at me, his peach blossom eyes, usually warm and smiling, now unfathomably deep, like two icy, bottomless pools churning with emotions I couldn't decipher. Scrutiny, suspicion, and a hint of offended hostility? Just now. It felt like I was dreaming. He extended another hand, its cool fingertips bearing thin calluses, and gently brushed my cheek. The motion seemed tender, yet it made my hair stand on end. His gaze slowly drifted downward, settling on my neck. Dreamt of a disobedient little bird, flying out of its cage. His fingertip finally came to rest on an extremely fine, almost invisible scratch just below my earlobe, the one I'd gotten earlier when I brushed against the bookshelf's edge. Here, his fingertip pressed firmly against the tiny wound, his voice suddenly turning cold, laced with a dangerous amusement. "Was this scratched by thorns somewhere?" The icy fingertip pressed against the wound, sending a faint, stinging pain through me. He knew! The thought struck like a venomous snake, instantly biting into my heart. Fear and despair washed over me like a frigid tide, drowning me in an instant. I could even feel the letter in my embrace radiating a scorching heat, as if it might burst into flames any moment, exposing me completely. Was it over? Had I failed at the last moment? No. Absolutely not. The excruciating pain and icy chill that pierced my heart in my past life, Ariai's panicked eyes as he plunged into the pool, Wansai's pitiful state with blood streaming from his 7 orifices. Countless images flashed before my eyes. No. I refuse to admit defeat. Even if I die, I'll drag him down to hell with me. In that split second, just as I nearly lost control and reached for the dagger in my boot, bang! The carved wooden door of the bridal chamber was violently smashed open from the outside by a tremendous force. Splinters of wood flew everywhere. The deafening crash shattered the room's deathly stillness. Xiao Heng's movements froze abruptly. He whirled around, his eyes instantly blazing with a fierce, icy glare. Who? The flickering candlelight illuminated the doorway. A tall, imposing figure stood silhouetted against the light, clad in gleaming iron armor. Beneath the helmet, his face was stern and unyielding, like the eternal ice of the northern frontier. In his hand, a heavy Dao blade rested against the floor, its edge reflecting a chilling glint in the candlelight. Behind him stood 2 rows of equally formidable soldiers clad in black armor and wielding sharp blades. Their murderous aura filled the air, completely blocking the doorway to the bridal chamber. The cold, jarring clang of armor grinding together instantly dispelled the room's lingering intimacy and murderous intent. "My dear nephew," the figure at the doorway spoke, his voice booming like clashing metal, carrying the battle-hardened aura of a veteran and a hint of condescending mockery. "On your wedding night, such a fiery temper?" "Uncle!" It was Uncle Lin Zhen, commander of the northern frontier. What was he doing here? Shouldn't he be guarding the border thousands of miles away? A tidal wave of shock and elation instantly shattered my taut nerves. It was Uncle! He had returned to the capital early and brought his personal guards. Xiao Heng's expression changed completely the moment he saw his uncle and the ironclad guards behind him. It was the unmistakable horror of a meticulously laid chessboard being overturned, the prey suddenly becoming the hunter, utter disbelief and dread. The smooth veneer that usually masked his face cracked layer by layer, revealing only a pallid base and violently constricted pupils. He instinctively took a step back, his fingers slipping from my cheek. "Lin. General Lin?" His voice was dry and raspy, tinged with an almost imperceptible tremor. How are you here? Shouldn't you be out at Yanmen Pass, drinking wind and eating sand, waiting for your men to accidentally send you to meet the King of Hell?" Uncle strode into the bridal chamber, his heavy iron boots thudding hollowly on the floorboards. Each step felt like a punch to Xiao Heng's chest. His weathered face bore undisguised, bone-chilling murderous intent and scorn. "Xiao Heng, you calculated everything, the Shin family, the capital, you got it all right." Uncle stopped a few paces before Xiao Heng, his towering form casting a deep shadow that completely enveloped him. "But you missed one thing." His gaze swept past Xiao Heng and landed on me. That look held lingering fear, heartache, and unparalleled resolve. Slowly, he raised his hand. In his palm, a military token forged from black iron, bearing the image of a coiled tiger, glinted with a cold, heavy, and ominous light in the candlelight. "The Northern Frontier Tiger Token. You overlooked this general's tiger token. It commands more than just the border troops." His voice cracked like shattering ice. "You also overlooked the eyes I keep watching over my niece in the capital." The moment his words fell, the black-armored guards outside the door stepped forward in unison. Blades drew half an inch from their scabbards. The synchronized clang of metal carried the rhythm of death. A chill of murderous intent instantly filled the space, freezing even the red candle flames. Xiao Heng's body shook violently, his face turning as pale as gold paper. He whipped his head toward me, his gaze like a poisoned dagger, filled with the venom of utter betrayal and a hint of desperate madness. "You?" He ground out the words through clenched teeth, his voice raspy as a demon's. I rose slowly. Ignoring his murderous glare, I walked step by step to Uncle's side. Uncle's broad shoulders, like a mountain, instantly dispelled all my fear and chill. I straightened my spine, meeting Xiao Heng's gaze that seemed ready to spit fire. Then, under everyone's stunned gaze, I pulled from my bosom the jute envelope still warm from my body, sealed with a half-tiger wax seal. "Brother Heng," I began, my voice unexpectedly calm yet sharp as ice shards scraping crystal, ringing clear in the deathly silent bridal chamber. "Is this what you were looking for?" I held the envelope high, exposing the menacing half-tiger wax seal to the candlelight. Xiao Heng's gaze was fixed on the letter as if he'd witnessed the most terrifying sight imaginable. His body began to shake uncontrollably, the last trace of color draining from his face. Colluding with the enemy, betraying the nation, framing loyal subjects. I watched him, enunciating each word with crystal clarity. Forging my father's seal, conspiring with the northern barbarians, plotting to seize the tiger token, and plunge our land into chaos. Each word struck like a heavy hammer, pounding mercilessly against Xiao Heng's chest. He staggered, taking another step backward until he collided with the round table behind him. The ceremonial wine jug and jade cups on the table crashed to the floor, shattering into pieces. Crimson wine spilled like blood, splattering the hem of his bright red wedding robe. No. It's not. You're slandering me. That's a fake. He roared, attempting a final struggle, but his voice was weak and frail, filled with despair. Fake? His uncle snorted coldly, his voice booming like thunder. Then open it now. Right before this general and all the officers. Test its authenticity. Let the entire court witness what kind of treacherous ambition your Wuan Marquis harbors, a wolf's heart plotting to ruin the nation and oppress the people. The Xuanjia guards brought by my uncle roared in unison, verify. The thunderous clamor shook dust from the rafters. Xiaoheng trembled violently at the sound, his last ounce of strength seemingly drained in an instant. He glanced at the letter in my hand, a death warrant, then at the cold, gleaming tiger token in my uncle's grasp and the murderous aura radiating from the black armor guards. His eyes swept over the shattered wedding wine, a symbol of his shattered dreams, scattered across the floor. Finally. Thud. A dull thud. His knees buckled. Like a mangy dog with its spine snapped, he collapsed straight before me. Kneeling in the pool of wine, blinding, blood-red liquid. His crimson wedding robes lay spread across the cold floor, like a pile of ugly, burned-out ashes. Head bowed, his body shook violently, every trace of the once lofty, jade-like grace of the Marquis gone. I walked slowly toward him. Looming over him. Watching him kneel there in utter disarray, just as I had when dying in my past life. Candlelight flickered, reflecting in my icy eyes. I slowly crouched down, drawing near his pallid cheek, drenched in cold sweat. My voice was soft, icy, laced with a venomous hatred woven from past and present lives, clear as it reached his ears. Xiaoheng. An arrow through the heart. Does it hurt? Xiaoheng knelt on the icy ground. His entire body trembled like autumn leaves in the wind. His garish wedding robe was drenched in wine, resembling congealed blood. He jerked his head up to stare at me, his eyes bloodshot. Xin Ning! You venomous bitch! His voice was hoarse as a broken gong. I smiled. Leaning close to his contorted face. Poison? My voice was soft as a whisper, not even a fraction of yours. That arrow from our past life, my fingertip tapped his heart. Do you still remember the taste of it piercing your heart? Xiaoheng's pupils suddenly contracted. You're talking nonsense. He was utterly horrified. Reborn, I straightened, glaring down at him only to take your worthless life. Uncle advanced like a towering iron pillar. The tiger token gleamed coldly in his palm. Seize him! His voice thundered. Outside, the black-armored guards roared their compliance. Yes, sir. They pounced like wolves and tigers. Iron-clawed hands seized Xiaoheng's shoulders. He struggled and roared, How dare you! I am imperial kin. How dare you! My uncle kicked him hard in the back of the knee. Colluding with the enemy, betraying the nation, not even the heavenly king can save you. Xiaoheng howled in agony as he was pinned to the floor. His face pressed against the cold stone tiles. Not a trace of his noble demeanor remained. He looked like a wretched, drowned dog. I watched coldly. Hatred churned within me, yet I felt an unusual calm. The heart-wrenching pain of my past life, today, it was finally repaid. My uncle looked at me, Ninger, this letter? I handed him the death warrant. Here's the irrefutable proof. He can't deny it. My uncle's gaze was as sharp as a blade. He scanned the wax seal on the envelope. Excellent! Well done, Marquis of Wuan. His rage twisted into a bitter laugh. Imprison him in the heavenly dungeon. Guard him closely. Seal off the entire Marquis' residence immediately. Not a single fly shall escape. Orders cascaded down. The clang of armor echoed as they swiftly obeyed. The bridal chamber instantly became a prison. Xiaoheng was roughly dragged to his feet. He glared at me with venomous hatred, his eyes like a snake's. Xin Ning! Even as a ghost, I won't let you off. I stepped before him. My hand shot up. A vicious slap cracked across his face. Smack! A crisp, resounding crack. Xiaoheng's head jerked to the side, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. A ghost? I shook my numb hand, a cold laugh escaping me. You think you're worthy? Go wait in your cell. I leaned in, my voice low enough for only him to hear. I'll make you taste every bit of suffering I endured in my past life. Xiao Heng's body convulsed violently. He was dragged away by the Xuanjia guards like a dead dog. His howls and curses faded into the distance. The bridal chamber finally fell silent. Only the scattered, burnt-out red candles remained. My straightened back finally swayed slightly. Uncle immediately caught me. Ning-er? His eyes brimmed with worry. I shook my head and forced a smile. Uncle, I'm fine. Just a little tired. The taut string snapped. Exhaustion washed over me like a tidal wave. My uncle patted my shoulder tenderly. My dear child, you've suffered enough. Leave the rest to me. His gaze turned icy. Not a single demon or monster will escape. The Wuhan Marquis' residence was surrounded by heavy troops. Sealed tight like an iron barrel. Seizure of property, evidence searches, arrests. Chaos erupted, screams and wails shook the heavens. My uncle commanded operations from the front hall. Swift and decisive. I changed into plain clothes. Sat quietly in the side hall. Bitao brought me hot tea. Her hands still trembled. Miss. It was terrifying. I took the tea, its warmth seeping into my icy fingertips. Don't be afraid, I reassured her, evil begets evil. Yet my mind was already plotting. Xiao Heng has fallen. But who is the dark hand behind him? That letter of treason, whom does it point to? In my past life, when the Shen family was destroyed, who profited? The curtain fluttered. Uncle strode in, his face dark with fury. Ninger, guess what we found? Behind him, a guard held a box. Opened. Inside were several secret letters. And a box of unfinished pink pastries. The very same kind that poisoned Wang Kai. My eyes turned icy. It was him all along. Uncle picked up a letter, sneering. Not just that. Look at this. I took it. The handwriting mimicked my father's. The content was vicious. Framing loyal officials. At the bottom, a forged Shen family private seal was stamped. He's scheming to destroy our Shen family. I spat with hatred. My uncle nodded, his expression grave. There's something even more poisonous. He pulled out another letter. The stationery was specially made for the Northern D royal court. Its contents. Promise to aid Xiao Heng in seizing military control of the northern frontier. The condition, ceding 3 provinces. Beast. Traitor. Uncle flew into a rage, smashing the corner of the table with a single palm strike. I stared at the letter. In my past life, Uncle died in battle, and the northern frontier collapsed. So there had been collusion all along. Uncle, my voice trembled, can this letter nail him? Uncle's gaze was hawk-like. Both witness testimony and physical evidence are present. He's as good as dead. His Majesty is furious and has ordered a joint trial by the 3 departments. He looked at me, his expression tinged with approval. All thanks to you, Ninger, for securing that crucial evidence. I shook my head. It was Uncle who arrived just in time. The thought of nearly being discovered still sent shivers down my spine. Uncle's gaze sharpened. That dog of a servant, Li Mao, has confessed. Pushing our Rui, poisoning, forging letters. He did it all. The mastermind is Xiao Heng. Just as I suspected. Where is he? I asked. Uncle snorted coldly. Locked up next door. He's stubborn as a mule, still hoping his master will save him. I set down my teacup. Rising to my feet. Uncle, I'll go see him. Uncle frowned. Ninger, that filthy creature. I cut him off. Some debts, I must collect personally. My gaze was calm, yet unquestionable. Uncle looked at me and finally nodded. Be careful. A dark, damp woodshed. Li Mao was chained to a pillar. His face was bruised and swollen, all traces of his former sinister aura gone. Seeing me enter, venom flared in his clouded eyes. You poisonous bitch. You ruined the marquis. I stepped before him, towering over him. Ruined him? I chuckled softly. He sought his own demise. When you shoved my arui, I bent low, fixing him with my gaze. How did it feel? Li Mao's eyes narrowed. Poisoning Wonkai, I pressed on. Did you enjoy that pastry? His lips trembled. Forging letters, my voice turned icy. Did you feel guilty mimicking my father's handwriting? Li Mao's face drained of color under my interrogation. Which? Don't think you can trick me. Get me to talk? I straightened up, pulling a small porcelain vial from my sleeve. I uncorked it. A sickly sweet fragrance wafted out. Li Mao's face twisted in horror. Crane's head red? Heartbreak grass? He screamed in terror. It was the very same poison used to kill Wonkai. I swirled the vial. Good eye. Xiaoheng gave you plenty of this poison, didn't he? Did he tell you? My voice was soft, yet venomous as a snake's hiss, that this stuff makes for a very painful death? Li Mao's body shook violently, like a sieve. What do you want to do? Use his own methods. I stepped closer. Against him. I seized his jaw, preparing to force-feed him. No. Don't. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything. Li Mao completely broke down. Tears and snot streamed down his face. It was the Marquis. He ordered it all. He hates the Shen family for standing in his way. He wants the entire Shen family wiped out. He made me deliver the enemy correspondence. He gave me the sealing wax. He rambled incoherently, spilling everything like beans from a sack. It matched the truth I'd heard before my death in my past life, word for word. I released my grip, coldly watching him slump like a limp rag. If only you'd confessed sooner. I resealed the poison vial. Rest assured, I turned away. Your life is for the law to claim. Enjoy your 1,000 cuts. I stepped out of the woodshed. The sunlight stung my eyes. I drew a deep breath. The weight in my chest lifted considerably. Bitao hurried over. Miss. The palace. People from the palace have arrived. It was the Grand Eunuch of the Imperial Palace. He held an imperial edict in bright yellow silk. His expression was solemn. His Majesty commands, Shening is to enter the palace immediately for an audience. My uncle accompanied me. Inside the imperial study, dragon saliva incense wafted through the air. The emperor sat solemnly upon the dragon throne, his face heavy with gloom. Below him stood several high ministers, their expressions varied. Xiaoheng, stripped of his official robes, knelt in the center. His appearance was gaunt and ashen. Seeing me enter, he jerked his head up, his eyes blazing with searing hatred. I kept my gaze straight ahead. I performed the proper bow. Your humble servant, Shening, pays her respects to His Majesty. The emperor raised his hand. Rise. His voice betrayed no emotion. Shin, his gaze fell upon me, scrutinizing, regarding the Marquis of Wuan. You have suffered injustice. I lowered my eyes. Both thunder and dew are the emperor's grace. My voice remained calm. Collusion with the enemy, treason, the evidence is irrefutable. The emperor's voice turned cold as he turned to Xiaoheng. Xiaoheng, what more have you to say? Xiaoheng suddenly slammed his head against the ground. Your Majesty. I am innocent. It was Shening. She framed me. That letter was forged by her. He screamed hoarsely, appearing mad. The emperor's brow furrowed deeply. Uncle stepped forward. His voice boomed like a bell. Your Majesty. This beast is stubborn and unyielding. Witness Li Mao has confessed. Physical evidence is complete. Moreover, there are secret letters from the northern barbarians as proof. The evidence is irrefutable. He presented all the evidence. The emperor examined each piece. His expression darkened with each one. In the imperial study, the silence was deafening. The atmosphere was oppressively heavy. Finally, the emperor closed the last letter. He slammed it down on the imperial desk. Very well. Very well, Marquis of Wuan. The dragon's wrath erupted. Xiao Heng, you have betrayed the emperor's grace, conspired with the enemy, committed treason. Your crimes are unforgivable. The verdict thundered like a bolt of lightning. Strip him of his title. Expel him from the imperial registry. In 3 days. At the Meridian Gate. Execute him by Ling Qi. To serve as a warning, all members of the Shao clan implicated in this case shall be punished by association. No mercy shall be shown. Xiao Heng was struck as if by lightning. He collapsed to the ground. His trousers instantly soaked through. A foul stench filled the air. No. Your Majesty. Spare me. Spare me. He wailed like a dying maggot. Not a shred of the Marquis's dignity remained. The Emperor waved his hand in disgust. Drag him away. Guards, fierce as wolves, advanced. They hoisted Xiao Heng, limp as mud. Dragged him out of the imperial study. His shrill, despairing wails echoed long after. I watched silently. My heart felt cold and barren. Vengeance was served. Yet I felt no joy whatsoever. Only endless exhaustion. The Emperor looked at me, his gaze complex. Shen. The Shen family suffered wrongful grievances. I am aware. Jinbei Marquis Xinjing shall be reinstated to his former position and elevated to Grand Tutor to the Crown Prince. Northern Frontier Commander Lin Jin, for his meritorious service in defending the realm, shall be granted an iron pardon. As for you. The Emperor paused thoughtfully. You saved your brother with valor and exposed treason with righteousness. You are hereby in theft as Princess Minnie, receiving the stipend of a prince's daughter. I knelt to express my gratitude. This humble daughter humbly thanks His Majesty for his divine grace. My voice was calm and unruffled. A noble title? Rewards? They cannot bring back the loved ones who died unjustly in my past life. They cannot mend my shattered heart. Stepping out of the palace. The sunset was like blood. My uncle watched me with concern. Ning-er. I gave him a smile. A genuine one. Uncle, let's go home. Arui and father and mother are still waiting for us. The carriage headed toward the Marquis of Jinbei's residence. The familiar vermilion gates came into view. At the entrance, my parents stood, supporting each other, their heads tilted, waiting expectantly. Arui wriggled free from his mother's hand. Like a joyful little bird. He races toward me. Big sister. Big sister. I leap from the carriage. Arms wide open. I clasp the little one tightly as he throws himself into my embrace. Warm, vibrant. My little brother. This time. I truly protected you. Tears finally break free. Hot drops fall onto Arui's soft hair. Arui. I choked out, I'm not afraid anymore. From now on, big sister will always be here. My parents approached, eyes reddened. They pulled me into a tight embrace. Just being back is enough. Just being back is enough. Surviving the ordeal. Family reunited. A treasure lost and found. I held my family close. As if embracing the entire world. The icy arrow of my past life. Finally, it was pulled clean from my heart. Leaving only a healing scar. A reminder. That new life is hard won. Father, mother, uncle, Arui. I lifted my head, tears mingling with a smile. Let's go home. The setting sun stretched our shadows long. We clung tightly together. Never to part. 3 months later. Kaishiku. A sea of people. Wearing a hooded cape, I stood in a private room of a tea house facing the street. Coldly observing the execution platform below. Xiao Heng was bound to a wooden stake. His form barely recognizable as human. The executioner's blade flashed. Pieces of flesh and blood splattered. Piercing screams echoed to the heavens. The crowd hurled curses and rotten vegetables. Traitor! You deserve 1,000 cuts. Spit! Serves you right. I lowered the curtain. turned and left. Enough. His blood stained my eyes. Stepping out of the tea house. The sunlight was perfect. Bitao approached. Princess, shall we return to the mansion? I shook my head. To the orphanage in the west of the city. There. They sheltered children displaced by Xiao Hang's case. Including the grandson of that old woman who pushed a Rui in my past life. Innocent children. The carriage rolled past the bustling street. Cries of vendors, laughter. The air thick with the scent of life. This is the world. I lifted the carriage curtain. Warm sunlight spilled across my face. Closing my eyes. Feeling this genuine warmth. Past memories. Fade like smoke. This life. I live for myself. For my family. I will live well. The story ends. Thank you all for your company. See you in the next chapter.